Hi there. Welcome to your final presentation for ENG 102. Closing remarks. You made it. You got here. I'm so happy and proud for you all. So what we need to do with this last presentation is wrap up the business of class for this really strange time period that we've all experienced. So let's start with some things that you did really well, not just here in your final Big Brother project, but all semester long. Specifically in the Big Brother project, your scope questions obviously helped. You know, not a single paper would be what I would call poorly organized. I know some of you are obviously up against a time limit, but those of you who turned in really carefully crafted papers, it's obvious that scope questions help. So like I said in class, online, every project you come across can benefit from scope questions. You had very strong citation use. You had the formats down pretty well. But what I was impressed with was that you chose very well. You didn't oversight, that is, you didn't have too many citations, and you didn't undercite. You didn't, most of you didn't undercite. So another thing that I really liked as a group from your project was your conclusions. The way you took your idea and extended it to the future or to the big picture was superb. There wasn't a single conclusion that didn't leave me going, that's interesting. So nice job on that. Another thing that you did well that we talked about was finding expert corroboration. That is when all the experts say the same thing, and you did a great job finding corroboration, finding these people who all say that, yes, this is happening. Your introductions were very slick. I like the way that you cannibalized your critical preface from your checkpoint C. That's just smart writing. That's just smart college students. So I like the way they pulled me in. I apologize for my cat meowing in the background. You know what it's like. But the way you just pulled me in and created transition and interest between your introductory paragraph and your first real research paragraph was very well done. And the other thing that you guys as a group did really well was, you used the long quote exactly like I taught you. Not just as filler or as fluff, but when you want to just save for that really big point. Some things that you might want to improve as a group. The first thing we need to talk about is widows and orphans. A widow is a heading that's left at the bottom of the page without anything beneath it. And this is a Judeo-Christian reference. It actually is a biblical reference, which means, in the Bible, widows didn't have any resources underneath them. And so that's why a heading at the bottom of the page is called a widow, because it has no resources underneath it. And then an orphan is a word or a phrase or a sentence that's left all by itself on a final page. Don't leave a little orphan out there all by himself. Cut some words from the main paper and get him underneath that final conclusion heading. You did a somewhat good job of making deadlines. Honestly, this COVID thing spun the deadline business completely out into Pluto sphere. So, in the future when things are more regular, I'm sure you'll be better at attending to deadlines. And also, if you're given a format, you're given a document example, don't be afraid to really look it over and follow it. Another thing you can do is use more online resources in the forms of databases rather than just Google searches. You're really getting into that second level of research and really digging up good journal articles. Many of you did this. But I think maybe the one thing I could say as a group, if everyone had just given it one more draft and really proofread carefully for comma and grammatical errors, stuff like that, I think you would have really seen probably the math I did, roughly a 7-point improvement on each grade. So once again, take that time to edit that last draft. And then I want to come back, avoid the random Google malarkey. Make sure you're using big boy and big girl sourcing that is appropriate for a collegiate level research paper. So one of the things I really tried to do this semester, other than introduce every slide with the word so, which I did a lot of that, I tried very hard this semester to role model for you what I know personally works for success here in the Delmarva Peninsula. This may not work in New York or San Francisco or Detroit, but owning a business, a successful business, for 30 years here in Newark has taught me some things. And so there's 3 things I really want you to walk away with, okay? One of the things I tried to show you was to show up for class. Boy, did we ever have that one thrown out. So I like the way that you showed up online. You may not have been in my presence, but every single one of you did a pretty good job of showing up online, communicating with me online, and letting me know where you were at in this process. Another secret I have for success in the work world is to speak up. If you have a problem of some kind, don't carry it around, letting it get bigger and bigger, sort of just getting madder and madder all the time. When you have an issue, speak up, whether it's with an instructor or a fellow student, a fellow employee, a boss. No one can help you if they don't know what's wrong. You don't have to be nasty about it, but unless you tell someone what your issues are directly, it's hard for that person to read your mind. So when you're in trouble, speak up. And the last thing I tried to model for you was the importance of checking up on details. Check up on the deadlines, check up on the templates, check up on what's required. Send your instructor an email if you don't understand. The idea is that the more you know about any given project before you start it, the better you're going to do. And I want to thank you for your flexibility through this semester. Your ability to just keep on keeping on was super, super impressive. There are some things I'd like you to take away from class. Long after the papers are dust in your memories, these are the things that I'd like you to take into your heart and make a part of your professional profile. The first, less is more. Write it your way. And, everyone loves a focused document. I was just on Facebook reading something, and it went on for like 3 pages, and guess what? I quit reading. So, we talk about, having plenty enough detail and all that, but in the long run, lean, mean, clean writing will always serve better than a super wordy mess that's unfocused. And ultimately, write it your way. If that means sitting down in one day and drafting it all out, great. Just leave yourself a day to edit and fix it up. I personally don't think that's a very good method. That's up to you. But I find that if you work on things in little pieces and then put those pieces together, you're always going to have a nice product. But ultimately, you're the writer. You got to write it your way. Only write about topics that interest you or develop you professionally. Unless you're assigned the topic, which is like the suckiest thing that can happen to you, you need to write about things in fields of interest that are going to be your specialities when you become a professional. I'm once again going to push that deconstructionist model till the day I die. The idea that every piece of a paper is a brick. Your introduction's a brick. You work on it, you polish it. Your citing is a brick. You work on those, you polish them. Your organization is your scope questions. You work on them, you polish them. You have your conclusion, a separate issue that you're working on and polishing. And then, of course, you have that reference page. And if you're taking each one of these little pieces and you're really doing it the best you can, when you put them all together in the wall, you're going to like what you've built. I think taking writing approaches like a quilter, doing it little pieces at a time and then putting it all together is the way to go. Also, always try to see that big picture when you're doing your writing. If you're about to lose your mind, just remember it's just one paper in a lifetime of writing that you're going to probably be doing. So, don't let yourself get caught up in these little minor things. Try to always remember that you're after the degree and the lifetime that comes with having a college degree. Most important 5 words you'll ever see: control the variables you can. There are some things we can't control, like this COVID business, like what your math teacher decided to do with the class, like what your parents have decided to, fight this whole time during COVID. But there are variables that you can control. You can control whether you get the paper in on time. You can control how you do the paper. You can control going to the writing center and getting help with the paper. So if it's a variable you can control, do it. That is the secret to good grades and a good transcript. And something I tell my students, you're mine forever. Once you've been through my ugly little boot camp of writing, you're my soldier forever. And be sure you save my contact information, because anytime you come across a problem that you can't solve, feel free to reach out to me. I may not be able to solve the problem, but given I've been doing it 30 years in this town, I probably know the person who can help you. So never be afraid to, consider yourself my student and friend forever. The most important thing I have for you about this COVID business is based on the stressed out student emails that I got. And this is a message that comes from my heart as someone who's dealt with probably a lot more life changes than you have. My dear students, I know it may seem like you are up against impossible odds right now. And sure, some of your work may suffer because you've had to learn a whole new way to learn this spring. But you have gained a set of coping skills that no other generation before you has. You have learned how to be liquid and resilient. You have learned how to self-start. You have learned how to improvise, adapt, and overcome like little learning Marines. Your grades may not be that great this semester, but the survival skills that you've learned going through this and navigating a huge educational shift like we went through, it's going to echo through your whole lives. And the resiliency that you've learned now will serve you well in the future. I promise. So your last responsibilities for me in wrapping up the class include the following. First thing you need to do is get any and all back work to me by May the 1st, midnight. That's Friday, midnight. And please recognize that you're being given an opportunity beyond normal to hand in back work. But because it's coming in after your final project, all back work will be assigned a 75. Be aware that even though you get that back work in, missing work always impacts grades. So even though you do get all your work finished, it still has to be passing level work. So it is possible to get all your work in and still fail the class. Please don't forget to do your class evaluations. They were sent to you via email. Your final grades should be posted by, at the latest, Monday, May the 4th by noon. At the absolute latest, I'll send you an email when I finish them off if I get done before that. But if you want to wait to do your evaluations until you get your final grade, I think that's the only fair way to go. And then the next thing you want to do, make sure you keep this stuff for this class either in a paper folder, or I love this little typo here. It's been a long morning. Either a physical folder or an online folder. Either way, you need to keep your stuff together for this class in case a freak meteor accident hits the college computers. You'll be able to prove that you took the class. Also, please make sure you keep my contact information if you need me for anything in the future. And also, don't forget to copy anything or save anything, bookmark anything you like from my D2L library. You're welcome to anything there. You can save PowerPoint lectures, whatever you want. And just make sure that you have what you need from D2L, because it will disappear when you do from the class rulebook. If you want to Facebook friend me after this so you can stay in touch, I would love to. I love staying in touch with students. It's so much fun. The last little message I have for you, and I am very sad today because I feel like I missed out an opportunity to really get to know you guys better than I did. And you're one of my best sections ever. And so I just want to tell you to be proud. Be proud of how professional you were, how courteous you were, and your performance. You guys were really professionals, both in the in-class form as well as the online form after COVID. And so I hope you have a wonderful summer. I hope you're able to get out a little bit, have a little bit of fun. Um, Maybe take a break from online classes, huh, for a little while. But I just want to thank you all again from the bottom of my heart. It's been a wonderful, wonderful semester. Best of luck to you.